here. They're even aware of it. LCO here, and that is the ultimate connected.
Themselves into a false hold. Finally, defenders on these guards.
Only player to lock in this main. There is just no damage for the Chiefs. Raiden gets the first pentakill of the LCO.
Hey Alexa, play Return of the Mac. I am back again. Jordan had me locked in the dungeon last week. He wouldn't let me out and he stole my hosting abilities. I don't know if you could see past that crazy moustache of it, but Elfish Guy was in fact hosting the show, even though you all almost got tricked by it. Now, I actually missed last week because, of course, I was locked down in Jordan's dungeon. So let's have a quick look back here at what happened on Friday on the DoorDash LCO.
Holding with vision, denial finds one. There's a reset. There's a dawning shadow. The beautiful revival. Kiyose looking to live a little bit longer in this team fight. Back to full HP. But here comes Kisei. A thumbs up, go golden. But you're not a trophy. You're a statue because I'm looking and laughing. In they go for a bit of an explosion of happiness onto this one, but it's going to be Pentanet to pick up the dragon. They've stolen it away. Chess survives. Trap OP. Viper's tanking. Viper for living, but that's a double kill. I've seen this happen before. Puma gonna get a double, get him a triple, give him the quad, give him everything. Onto Kevy, very early ultimate by him. Now a flash in to try and take out Kratos. The bomb gets sidestepped, there's no damage onto him. Deku's already gone out to fight. A beautiful kick removes Chungy. He's just come up, but he's sent straight back down. A double kill for Aphelios. Be him so far, he jumps in, two-man knockup, forcing out a flash and forcing out a stopwatch too. In jump set, looking to try and take down some key targets, but the haymaker is just a little bit short. They've taken out Gunkrab. There's the culling from Max distance onto Inkosu, but Shock is somehow still alive, down to 400. He has the realm warp, but he wants to try and re-engage and turn this fight around. Two members in stasis, but when they come out, surprise, surprise, you're dead as well. It's going to be a delayed ace, but an ace all the same, and Direwolves with Baron might just look to end this game.
They've committed to this fight, wow.
Herald has been summoned, mind you. The second one picked up by Peace. There goes the fight. A two-man knockup. Can they find any kills as a result of this one? Appy in trouble, forced to go gold and looking to try and disengage away. Zeta blading onto Gudo. As that disengages, everybody from Mammoth goes into a realm with Fred the Needle, and Babbitt gets a double kill with the spear. He is a harvester in the night, and Frost is now doing whatever he can. He's going to fall on down, but he's going to take as many as he can with him.
I missed some sick Nidalee gameplay, and I'm disappointed about that because I want to see more Nidalee here in the DoorDash LCO. I'm not the only one that wants to see it either. There's two men that expect the exact same thing, one of which loves a little bit of Nidalee. His name's Juves. Skimmy, do you like Nidalee?
I do, yeah. The shape-shifting, the pouncing, the power plays like we saw there with the needle. Babbitt, crazy.
Yeah, doing such a good job. Now, Juves, how you feeling? Looks like you've had a shave, you've cleaned up, you're looking pretty sharp, mate.
I wish you didn't bring it up. I had a bit of a shambles in the bathroom. I went to just like, I obviously always have a beard, but then I did a mistake and now there's no beard. I had to go completely, plus the barber's on lockdown. Shambles. Absolute shambles.
You know what, Juves? I never knew you were that much of a fan of me, mate, that you wanted to try and resemble this clean-cut look.
Yeah.
Look, you're in between the two of us, kind of where we are. Now, let's see who's in between who as we have a quick look at the standings and see where everyone's sitting after what happened on Friday. Chiefs up at the top 9-3. Pensnet snapping at their heels, 8-4 here. The three-way tie for third, still 7-5 for Direwolves, Peace and Order. Gravitas 6-6, and then you got Legacy down behind them in 7th spot at 4-8, and Mammoth still not able to find that W. So, Skimmy, any surprises here?
I think that's kind of what you're expecting to see. Some strength of schedule is going to favour some of these teams. You're looking at the top of the table, obviously, and saying, okay, Chiefs, can they stay there for much longer? You've got teams very much hot on their heels, right? Pensnet on a win streak, looking to try and resemble their MSI form. 3 teams tied at third, looking to break up that mix. But the biggest, I think, upset factor on the cards right now would be Gravitas and Legacy. Gravitas actually have a pretty good schedule for the Super Week. They've taken down Pensnet, who they'll be playing later on in the week already. Definitely a chance for them to try and upset the pack and make us still unsure as to who's going to be those teams going to playoffs.
Well, speaking of, let's have a quick look at the schedule and what games we are going to be looking at today. So, kicking things off at 6 p.m, we do have Order going head-to-head with Direwolves there, so that'll be a bit of a tiebreaker. Some team will sit higher than the other afterwards. Peace and Legacy at 7 p.m. Last time these teams went ahead, Legacy actually took the W over Peace, so that was a bit of an upset victory for them, and let's see if they can do it again. 8 p.m. you got Mammoth and Gravitas. I'm sure this is one of the easier games that Mammoth could take over Gravitas and maybe get that first W on the board, even though Wei's already balled. Now, 9 p.m. you got Chiefs and Pentanet going head-to-head, and that'll be another banger as well. But Jubes, which one is your game of the day?
I think there's two. Obviously, I think the Chiefs and Pentanet.gg have to be the favourites for my game of the day. But Dio was an order, a close second. I think both those teams, obviously 7 and 5, so evenly matched.
Yeah, pretty good. What about you, Skimmy?
I'm actually going to go for the Mammoths matchup. I think that one should be a bit of a beauty, right? We've got the El Clasico, but I think this one as well. You know, you're looking at Mammoth, and you're really keen to see them get a victory, right? Nobody wants to have a defeat streak like such, right? They only had one victory in Split 1. It was against Gravitas. Whilst Gravitas have leveled up, we're still hoping that Mammoth can do the same. Wei's got no hair. He's upset. So we talk about angry gaming. He might be the most angry player in the game today.
Yeah, he certainly will look the part at least. Now, speaking of today, we actually move into a new patch. We're going into patch 11.14, so let's bring up the patch notes and have a look at what is going on in patch 11.14. So, Jubes, you want to take us through what these changes are and why they're influential? So
Aurelia got a few buffs in terms of the kit in general, and that's really, I think, just pushed her over the edge, because she was kind of just seeing a little bit of play here and there. And then they really just touched up her passive, touched up a few other abilities, on which I'm not going to go through. We don't have time to ramble through absolutely everything. However, she has good matchups into control mages, good matchups into the AD carries in the mid lane that are traditionally played. So just across the board, the flexibility being top and mid, but then having such good matchups in the mid lane, I think we will see a lot more Aurelia. And I mean, me and Skimmy were having this conversation anyway. Probably needs a little bit of a nerf nowadays. Dr. Mundo being another one. Now, it got nerfed in lane. However, Jungle Mundo did get quite the buff, right? As you can see there, blunt force trauma, 200% damage to monsters, as well as, you know, the healing is going to be 100% health when it hits a monster. So Mundo's just going to clear healthier, and the clear speed was never really a problem, right? And that got buffed in itself, but also the sustainability. Tahm Kench is one that I'm excited to touch on. Yeah, but I'm excited to touch on that because this is solo lane Tahm Kench that's been buffed, right? The ability to trade against certain things in lane. Most famously, a Blaze Olive for the Golden Guardians played Tahm Kench into a Kali, and they actually won that game. Can't remember who they versed, but the Tahm Kench had a blinder. It has so much sustain in lane, has so much base damage coming from the % HP tongue lick, as well as like just the whole trading ability. And I mean, it offers so much in the team fight, can still devour, you know, ally, devour enemy, obviously using the ultimate now instead of the W, but as well, a little bit of mobility to jump to a target using the W, which is now kind of the short dash, not a dash, the short, I guess, what do you want to call it? Bon voyage, the trip. But then we got Taric, which he received a slight buff, but I actually don't mind Taric into hard engaged bot lanes and hard engaged compositions. A lot of Leona, a lot of Nautilus being picked up, and Taric is kind of, at least in the LCO, being picked as a counter pick. And with these changes, I wonder if there's going to be a little bit more of a priority on that champion. And last but not least, Stridebreaker changes. I think Stridebreaker globally was arguably the most built item, right? Nocturne, you know, set, anything and everything that could build it, did build it because of the slow, because of the gap close. The gap close did get nerfed, but the slow got buffed, which was 90%, which a big change now is that it's just 40% flat. As well as reducing the health that you get from this item. So again, globally and across the board, at least in solo queue, we're seeing a lot more Gore Drinker being built as I guess a swap out for the Stridebreaker. So it'll be interesting to see if we see that kind of pivot in the LCO as well.
Yeah, I'm keen to see exactly where we end up. Skimmy, do you have anything to touch on before we move on from talking about the patch notes?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, right, the patch, these are, you'd say, the biggest changes across the board. There are micro changes here and there on some other champions, like a couple of extra AD on Graves, for instance. You know, whether or not that's going to be enough to push these champions over the edge, you know, I don't think so. But yeah, I mean, I'm just expecting to see a lot of Aurelia today and some potential pivot with the likes of Tahm Kench and Mundo.
Ah, well, there you have it. Now, speaking of the champs and the changes, that's what our key picks are going to revolve around today, is what we think are going to be some key picks here in patch 11.14. Now, you saw 3 of them with the changes there, but we've got Lilia in the mix as well. So, Jubes, why are these for some of the picks we think we're going to see?
Well, I think Aurelia, obviously being the one, we touched on it, has a very good laning phase and scaling now into a lot of what's meta right now, in the mid lane in particular. Obviously, into a lot of the bruiser matchups, Aurelia fares very well. So again, I think she's just a little bit overtuned. They did a bit too much to her numbers, and you know, we're going to probably see a bit of a priority on this champion. Tahm Kench, one that I think it's not something that's going to just be perma-picked, but in the certain situations where it has a very good lane, I think Tahm could be utilized. I'm not even going to say it's going to be picked because, again, LCO and OS, we have our own metas type deal, and we don't necessarily pick what's been happening overseas. And even then, like, we've only seen Tahm Kench once in the mid lane, which was the Golden Guardians that picked that one up. But again, keep an eye on that pick. Lilia is one that I'm excited about, being the jungler that I am. You know, off the top of my head, they did a whole bunch. Like, they increased % HP shred to her passive. They gave her some healing as well. They reduced the cooldown on, they buffed the cooldown on her E, which is the swirling seed, but they also increased the slow. So just across the board, her whole kit in general has had a buff. To top that off with the itemization, you know, the Rift Maker that's more popular now, Demonic Embrace. I'll be very surprised if we don't actually see some Lilia, especially with the target bans that come out in the jungle. And jungle pool is getting so pinched that I think Lilia is just a genuine viable option. And Mundo, again, we touched on that in the patch notes. More excited to see this one potentially come out in the jungle, especially because a lot of compositions are drafting a lot of mages, a lot of magic damage, and Mundo fares very well into those champions.
Well, I guess we'll see what comes of it with the key picks there. Now, Skimmy, did you want to touch on any of those before we move along?
Yeah, just the one final point on the note about Lilia, right? We've definitely seen a big preference to other AP junglers. So when those have been banned away, we've seen the likes of Echo, Evelyn, Karthus, Nidalee be utilized when necessary. So you know, if the matchup works, if the jungle gets contested more and more as we've seen so far, then it's definitely a champion that's viable and could offer what made it so strong many months ago.
It certainly could. Now, that brings us to the end of the key picks, and we will be moving on to our next segment, which is my, of course, favorite segment, which is from the fans, from you guys at home, the content kings that are in Twitch chat and on the Twitter sphere, sending in all the sick memes, sick op.gg reviews, and of course, beautiful gameplay when it eventually comes. We haven't got many gameplay posts, but if you do have them, send them in. You know, how you're watching, send that in. Send in as many things as you want. Meme Lords, you know, you're open to it as well. And speaking of Meme Lords, I believe we do have a couple already. So let's bring up the first one. I think this one is from Avexium. So, hey, Drew, how you doing? Just cheering all the teams on the sidelines ready for my lockdown entertainment at LCO, the only true brightness in these dark lockdown times. So thank you. Thanks, Drew, for that one. Anyone want to touch on that?
Yeah, I know Drew. He's a champion. He's a good guy. So look, you know, hopefully you can enjoy the games and yeah, whilst we are all stuck at home, put a smile on your face.
I think Drew's one of those guys that he's just an esports guy and he's always at every single event, no matter what. And he's the guy that comes and says, hey, and you know, you give him a big hug. Obviously, you know, COVID dependent. Now let's move on to meme numero duo. Who's this one from? Looks like it's Tiger_Jade, which is Edmund Coulson. You know, at me with a video of how you say your last name. We'll put that up as well later. Supporting my future server home whilst doing studies from South Africa. At LCO, go Direwolves. Let's smack them. Oh, okay. Fighting words. So happy little times there from Edmund, and he's tuning in from South Africa. So it's probably early
What's the
there,
time?
right?
Yeah, let me find out. I'm just going to do a quick Google search. It says it's 9:43 a.m. So rise and shine, coffee in hand, and ready to punch on down under.
Beautiful, beautiful. Love a good punch on, honestly, you know, when the Roos get it going. Now, that's it from the fans. If you guys do want to submit content, please add LCO on Twitter, on any of the other platforms as well, and we will get it up on the show because, you know, we love your content. We love you guys. Now, that brings us to the match. It's time to talk Direwolves and Order, but let's talk Direwolves first. So, they have done a straight 180. They've done the full U-turn, and now they are looking to contest the top of the table, coming in third currently, and they might even be able to get up into second today if they can beat Order here, Juice.
Yeah, I think they've really, as a team, found their niches, right? Obviously, Cupcake saying he's going to pick Bard until someone shows him otherwise, until they either ban it or they can come with a counter pick. Gunkrab on the traditional marksman, obviously always knew what he could do, but I think the biggest point of this team, the biggest point of improvement has to be Shock, Only, and Claire, right? Like these three in particular. I know we're almost talking about a whole team, but really they weren't hitting the expectations that we set for them early, but I'd say now they're actually exceeding. I think Shock and Only in particular are just having some absolute blinders and are probably the best 2v2 in the league. to present in terms of performance. So again, if you're a Direwolves fan, like we have our old mate in South Africa that's tuned in, you know, he's got to be super excited. I mean, that's probably why he's awake at 9:30 in the morning, got his study open on one screen, but let's be honest, he's not going to be doing much study.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty hard to focus on that one. Now, let's have a quick chat about order as well. Now, Skimmy, you want to take me through these 5 handsome and talented individuals and tell me what their key to success is?
Yeah, I think it's a team that, you know, despite not having the same win streak as the Direwolves, as we saw, already head-to-head matching up, 7-5 is their record. A team that have got a lot of flexibility in the draft. You look at Chung in the mid lane, a utility mage player that can play carries if needed. He's played 11 unique champions, the most in the entire league so far, so definitely a team player that can facilitate any direction that the coaching staff wants to go. Last time they went up against the Direwolves, it was a very strong position for them where they played around Kevy and Maximize. He started the lane phase as a Nocturne 2-0, and they just basically ran over the map rampant from that point onwards. So I think it's a very close matchup. I think last time the odds were, I think the Twitch predictions were like 51-49 in favor of Direwolves. But I think that Order definitely can play spoiler here tonight as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very hotly contested battle. But at the same time, both these teams are going to be extremely keen to get that W. So I'm expecting it to be one of the better games of the evening. I guess we'll see how the draft goes once we get there. But Jubes, you know, head-to-head, how do you think both these teams fare? And do you have yourself a little favourite?
It's going to sound counterintuitive when you say what I predicted, but I think stylistically, Order might have the upper hand against Direwolves.
Okay.
Just because Maximize is such a strong point of this Order team. And then Puma, I don't think I've seen Puma play a bad game, legitimately. I think in every single game this year, he's been solid for the team. And so when you consider those focuses and aspects, I think that potentially Order, not the upset because they're even, but potentially Order get the win. But again, when you see my tips, you'll probably say, what?
Right. So would you go as far to say that if Direwolves are going to win, they're going to win it through sort of mid and jungle, but if Order win it, it's going to be through that bot lane?
Yeah, I particularly, I do think that's the case. So I think Order win through the bot lane, not necessarily the bot lane being a lane kingdom where they just get a bunch of kills, but where they're so stable and that Cupcake and Gunkrab can't do anything. And then Maximize potentially wins on a carry match up top side of the map because again, while Claire's had a very good resurgence and he's one player that delivered, the question marks just I think is always going to be there, particularly how the split started for him both times. And I love Claire. I think Claire's a fantastic player, but you know, I think we still need to see a little bit more.
Well, someone that I want to see a little bit more is Order. Words today are really hard for me. Hopefully the players on Order can do a better job than I can.
Frostbite himself a second, he gets himself a shutdown. People getting knocked up. Puma trying to do whatever he can from above. He might just take them all. He certainly will. He just needs to wait for the CD. He just needs to wait for the CD. Triple kill, lights out. It's an ace.
I think split 1 was more of a testing ground because most of us are pretty new.
We beat a lot of teams early, like in scrims, but after playoffs we got humbled by Chiefs, so getting swept in playoffs is not fun.
I think going into split 2 we worked pretty hard together as a team to develop more fundamentals.
This Order lineup with Kevy, this is like really different from last split. We would have like insane amount of picks, like some real cheesy picks. I think every player on our team can carry a game. I think if someone wants to call the shots and wants to carry, then we will back them up.
I think Max, he's always screaming, so he's always trying to get everyone in the mid. So before games, he normally screams a lot, so he brings up my mid too. Like we tend to get quiet a lot, but I try my best to bring everyone mid back up. So we always keep our head in the game normally.
Coming into playoffs, it would feel like some redemption from last time.
He'll find one at least. It's a trade though, as Kevy gets himself to the fold of things and is able to take out Gungrove. Now jumping in for more, locking in place 2 with the Moonfall. Can they find success? Can they find a double kill with the Fear connects once again? And these Fears, they just do not miss. A beautiful cleanse from Puma.
I think the audience should be excited that we are really aggressive early game, so we'll hope to make proactive plays and make it really flashy for you guys.
This split is different from the last split and all the other splits that Order has. This one is one where we are going to win it all.
Well, there you have it. Nice little insight coming from the players, directly from the players as well. Now, I want to hear someone's thoughts on that, and it's neither of you two. It's Nat. Let's bring Nat into the conversation. Did you enjoy that little tidbit of content, Nat?
I did. I always love seeing a little bit about the players and the teams a lot more. It's nice to get to know them outside of just me asking them questions.
Certainly is. Now, it's time for an interview. So who do you have for the pre-match?
It is. I'm going to be joined by Guncrab and Puma. Thank you both so much for joining me. Guncrab, I want to say straight up, you know, Direwolves having an amazing week last week. Do you think you guys are going to get a 3-0 week this week?
Oh, most definitely. I think for the past few weeks of practice, we've kind of just been like full gas on the pedal, and I don't think I think this week is probably going to be our most challenging, but I think we're going to make it out with the 8-0.
Yeah, I mean, you're coming up against Order today, Chiefs and PGG later this week. Who do you think is going to be your biggest competitor?
I think all three teams are like pretty hard. I'd say Chiefs and PG are slightly better than Order, but don't really have one team to pick. It's just focus on one game at a time, and then yeah.
What has been your preparation coming into this Order game in hopes of winning this time against them?
Well, since we're on 11.14, this new patch, and it's quite a big patch. There's a lot of changes, and you know, not many data points to look at in terms of like champions and like our priorities. So we're kind of trying to still play the champs we're proficient at while adapting to the new patch. But I can't say too much because you know.
Of course, I definitely understand. But you are right, it is a new patch, so there are a lot of new things that we potentially could see. But Puma, over on Order, where's the confidence levels of you guys potentially going 3-0 this week?
I think this week we have a good chance to go 3-0, but I think we'll take it one game at a time. I think Peace and Direwolves are pretty good teams, and we should take them serious.
Yeah, I mean, you guys had a really outstanding performance last time you came up against Direwolves, so I want to know, what are you hoping to do or bring to ensure that you will get another win over them?
I think as long as we play our game, like, we have like a good chance to win. I think our bot lane duo, like 2v2, is pretty volatile. I think they are not as strong in lane, but they're really smart players. So I think if we can get an advantage in lane, then we have a better chance to win.
It is going to be an extremely interesting matchup down there in bot lane. But the last thing I do want to ask you both, if you want to start, Puma, is what is going to be your time predictions for this matchup? Do you think it's going to be faster or shorter than the last time you guys faced?
I'd say 22 minutes.
22 minutes! I love it. Guncrab, what about you?
I think it's gonna be a bit longer because they're gonna be turtling inside the base for a while. So at least like a Dragon Soul before the game ends, maybe 35 minutes.
All right, well, I look forward to seeing just how quick or long this game is going to take, but thank you both so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you.
Good luck, Uck.
Well, there you have it. Did he say good luck, Uck?
No, I think he said good luck, luck.
Good luck, luck.
I think
Okay.
maybe he's just trying to say good luck twice.
It's like I love you too, right? You know, when you say that with your loved ones or your mum, if you're a mama's boy like me. Anyway, let's talk about predictions rather than my my mum. She's lovely, by the way, if you're watching. Anyway, let's talk predictions. I've gone with Twitch chat. No surprises there, but at least Twitch chat doing a good job last week for me. I'm almost 30 W's up, which is very good. Before I think it was like 2018 at one point, so it wasn't going very well for me. However, Jubes and Skimmy both on the Direwolves train, thinking it's going to be a bit of a continued win streak for Direwolves, Jubes?
Yeah, like I said, stylistically, I think Order have a very good chance winning this series, but I think the momentum is why I tipped for Direwolves.
Okay.
Just I think they're unbeaten, one of the longest active win streaks in competitive League of Legends globally. I saw the Twitter post before, so that's why I've tipped them. But I do want to just say stop the counts and let's get a recount because I don't know what's going on with my tips.
Oh, the numbers?
Yeah,
I don't
man.
know.
33-15. What's going on? I
you
won
sure?
last
Isn't that
season by a
good?
country mile, man. Now what? Now I'm losing the skimmy.
Yeah, age catches up to you. It certainly does. You know, these Zoomers coming on through. Look, Mac, I think, you know, a lot of the same points as Juves mentioned. Momentum's obviously key. I just think there's similarities between Split 1 and Split 2, right? Kind of funny how it plays out in that same fashion, but, you know, that I will, you know, found some kind of form mid-season. They've done it again here. They've got a big week to obviously see if they deserve to have such an illustrious win streak, but if they can do it, then fair play.
I guess the thing is, you know, we didn't get to see what happened in week 3 last season because there wasn't that third round robin. Or when I say week 3, I mean round 3. Let's jump onto the next page. Nat, what are you going for here? You on the Direwolves train? Oh, it's only Rusty going for order out of everyone.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, take it away.
I mean, Rusty does this a lot. I would say more times it works in his favor than not. But Direwolves, for me, they clearly have a formula that is working, and that's not just like when they get into games, but also for their preparation, their practice and whatnot. And I'm just hoping that it really kind of comes out and shines as we come into a new patch as well. So
Okay, that sounds interesting. I wonder if we're going to see any of those champs mentioned in the key picks from earlier. I certainly think we might. I would be surprised if we don't see Mundo. I'm expecting to see him in jungle today at one point. Do you think that's a pretty safe bet there, Juice?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the only place that I'm looking to see it. They just buffed his clear, and I do see quite a few people practicing it. Actually, to be honest with you, I was updated by Skimmy about the changes, so I want to go into solo queue and give it a test myself. Give it a bit of a limit test.
Well, there you have it. Okay, so before we jump into Champ Select, we do have another little bit of bonus content, again from Order. Let's see what they've submitted.
So, game against Gravitas. We are started off with a cheeky solo kill, courtesy of me.
Expertly and wait for his own jungler to make the play. Times it well.
Oh, it does
Got him.
actually tick enough. I think it was a corrupting pot in there as well that helped out.
Chungy said some nice words in all chats to give me encouragement. Then I got stuck in a wall thanks to Step Thorold. And we had the chrono break, took us about like 15 minutes.
Bit of a Jax. Max is stuck in the wall. Get him out of the wall. What's happened to Max?
I've never seen that before.
He's an ornament.
I've actually never seen that before.
After that, we did a... Sorry. After that, we did a bit of inting, you know. We like to have a bit of fun with it on stage. But beating Puma, like locked in, and then like 2v8'd to give us the game. So yeah, that's what happened.
Yosei having some problems up against Puma, jumps straight into a trap, gets deleted by the rocket, and now the rest of Gravitas are in no man's land. They've got absolutely nowhere to go. Puma's getting excited, charging forward. There's a kill for Beats, but they're all really going the way of Puma. A 3K for him, 1 for Beats, and it might well be a 4K. Puma wants them all. Baron in their back pocket. Safa goes forward and gets deleted. Puma says thanks very much for the DoorDash delivery. That's 10 kills, 10, 2, and 7 right now for Puma, and you can bet he's going to get a couple more right here. This is the end of the game. This is Gravitas in their death throes, and Order have completed a very comfortable victory, 25-10.
Maximize, signing off. I don't care what it is. I don't even know.
Thanks, Chief. Great job. Great effort there, Max, on the camera. Now, before we jump into Champ Select, I am starving, and I know you guys at home probably are as well. So exclamation DoorDash in chat. Make sure you click the link. Make sure you get yourself something scrumptious for dinner because it's almost 6 p.m. It should be 6 p.m. in about 10, 20 seconds maybe, which means we're certainly on track for Champ Select. Now, I'm going to throw this over to you, Nat, because obviously you're going to be watching from the what are they called? The bleachers? Yeah, the bleachers.
Bleachers.
What do you think is going to come in Champ Select?
Probably that Mundo, but I really do want to see Irelia, especially the Nightblade Irelia skin. She's my favorite, so that's what I'm hoping to see. I don't think it actually will come out. I don't think we'll see that much change in champs picked. I think we might see a change in champs banned.
Okay. So I wonder if we do get that Aurelia through, or if that's going to be one of the red side bans as the OP picks, because that'd be interesting. We did see was it Safa last week trying to play it? Anyway, that's a question that can be answered after the game, because ladies and gentlemen, it's time for match number 1 of the evening. Direwolves in order, coming at you now.
Beautiful, Mac. Well, let's get off our final Super Week here for the LCO to round out this split, and we'll get to see what these two teams look like, because last time we went up very different Direwolves, definitely not in form, got bullied around the place, and Order were able to put themselves in a comfortable position. But now, going into week 6, neck and neck, both looking for the perfect week and the continuation of a win streak.
Yes, indeed. And the one thing that I was going to add on to what you said, Skimmy, because you always say eloquent, but I saw the Bard ban and I couldn't take my eyes off it. Because I think no team, they didn't want to take the skill check. They just said, you know what, this one's gone, and we'll see what you got. Because I think maybe in most of, or majority of Direwolves wins, it's been the Bard, right?
Well, if you look at their last 4 games, it's actually been alternating Lulu, Bard. So, you know, you ban away arguably the best Bard in the region.
They got both.
Ban away 2 now, and you're looking to try and say, all right, we're going to force you off the enchanters, back to the bruisers, or back to the tanks. We want you to play the likes of a Fresh.
And this kind of speaks to narratives, right? Because I guess the narrative that we were spinning was the fact that Order bot lane, at least stylistically or even statistically, have probably been better performers than that of Gunkrab and Cupcakes. You know, Puma for me has been most improved, I guess, player in the league. Not to say that he was, you know, a bad player beforehand, but
he's hit another level.
Yeah, right, exactly. He's hit another level, and they can almost always rely on him to be putting up, you know, okay.
Well, I guess, Juves, 2 AD really is the difference maker. We had this conversation before, right, about, you know, jungle clears and how jungle fanatics are always hunting for the mystical free 15 clear, and maybe the discussion's been found that, you know, that is just enough to put him over the edge.
Look, I don't know if it is. I don't think Graves is in a spot right now where you want to be like picking him blind, especially into a Karma, because where Graves has problems is like not necessarily in isolation in terms of the jungle matchup, but you get outranged. Like there's no surprise there, right? Like you play into a Karma, you play into another like semi-long range AD carry, you play into you know, we didn't even know LeBlanc was picked at the time, but you play into a longer range mid laner, then like there's just no avenue for you to hit or free hit. And you have to consider too, Graves doesn't have any CC. So it's something that needs to be considered when you're drafting a comp, and I think, you know, early, and then of course to make up for the CC, yeah.
Well, just to quickly touch on your point there about Kevy locking in this Graves, we've seen it before back in Split 1 when he was playing for Peace. He debuted with a 10.07 KDA. Just absolutely destroyed Mammoth on this pick, so we know he's comfortable, even if it isn't the best pick right now. But Chungy and Order as a whole still sticking with this Lissandra pick, which we were both so impressed against when Order took battle against Chiefs with this exact matchup into a LeBlanc.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't even say that there's levels to mid lane, and Shock's LeBlanc isn't going to be as good as Kisse's, because Shock's already showed us his proficiency on this champion. The only thing I will say though is like, it is like historically Lissandra is a counter pick to LeBlanc, but it's just like, where is Lissandra in terms of numbers and the meta? Like, you know, does she do enough with her kit to warrant the pick, as opposed to what LeBlanc can offer your team composition, right? Because LeBlanc doesn't need to win the 1v1. LeBlanc can play to the sides. LeBlanc can do so much more than just what Lissandra can do. And so the agency is always going to be with LeBlanc. But, you know, if Chungy's on his game, he's able to stop a lot of what LeBlanc can do, right? With the Frozen Tomb, just deny all of the poke, all of the harass, all of the one-shot coming on through. So, you know, we didn't see it work last time around, but it's interesting to see if he'll be able to do it this time.
Let's see what actually does come about it, right? Because it definitely can deny a lot of these team fights and give them the resets to lock these people in place. It made it so easy for the likes of Ziggs then to get his bomb off with that increased travel speeds. Quickly touching on some of these bans, the Ezreal denied away here from Gunkrab, facilitating the kind of same role as Mboma would do. Lots of ability to navigate the map and stay safe and all the rest of it. But then the same could then be said if we're looking at that top lane matchup. Respect shown towards Maximize with his pocket Jax. The same then goes to Claire, who's been playing a lot of Camille. But if you're looking at beats for Order, he's been playing a ton of these engage heavy supports, right? It's either Nautilus or Leona. Pick your poison.
Yeah, and the Leona being locked in for me is... it's tough, because what happens now is like, you make Cleanse a valuable summoner spell, right? And so the one thing that Lissandra doesn't want as well is Cleanse. You know what I mean? And so you're forcing, it's like a 2-in-1. You're taking half of Lissandra's kit away with a cleanse, but you're letting them take that, particularly with De Leona locked in as well. So it's going to be so much value for that summoner spell, and they've done you one better, and they've actually locked in Siva. So you get the spell shield, you get the cleanse, you get all of that, and we're actually going to see a Mundo top. There you go, even with the nerfs.
There it is, locked in and ready.
It could be Graves in a solo lane. I'll put that out there. There is a lot of Graves that gets played in a solo lane. So we'll have to see where this one gets flexed. 20 seconds to go. I don't imagine the Graves top will be too good into the Lee Sin. Or it might even be Volleybet top, actually. There's too many flexes. Can't even be bothered right now.
I mean, there are really a ton of flexes, right?
Yeah.
You could talk about the fact that Claire's played Lee Sin before in the top side of the map. We could talk about the fact that, you know, the Volibear has been spammed by Only. But this appears to be our final lock-in draft. And I guess Cupcake, from the very start of that draft, said, you can ban away double enchanters. You can try and force me down this narrow path of saying, play Braum, play Fresh, do something in that regard. But he's gone for the triple enchanter. He's gone for the Karma. And now they've got a ton of poke to try and match the Ziggs and keep this Leona at bay.
Yeah. I don't know if Order have hurt themselves in this draft. I don't know if they've drafted too much magic damage, right? You look at the Lissandra, the Leona, the Ziggs, the Mundo. That's 4 AP. Like, whether you like it or not, Mundo's AP, right? Yeah, it does a little bit of % HP shred, but regardless, it's still you know, a form of magic damage that comes out of Mundo. So then all of a sudden, like, your Mercury Treads become 6 times the value. Like, your Spirit Visage, or like whatever magic, the Locket, whatever you want. There's so many items that you can build from the side of Direwolves that Kevy has to get ahead. Like, if Kevy falls behind, you genuinely have no AD. Like, there's no AD. But I mean, this is probably like where we see them put that respect on Kevy, right? Because you're only drafting this composition if you're confident, like 9 times out of 10, that Kevy's going to top damage this game, right? Because he has all the tools in his, you know, in his locker, or all the tools in his shed to really do this damage.
He certainly does.
But again, Magic Resist gonna be the key here for Direwolves. I was gonna say Gun Crab, but really everyone.
Well, for everyone, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if it actually reaches that point, because we've been critical at times, right, of Chiefs when they've drafted the opposite direction, too much AD. They just said, well, we get ahead early, it's fine, right? You know, we don't need to worry about these big major item breakpoints that can then look to try and nullify a whole heap of what we're able to do. So, always curious to see what Order bring to the table. We know they're a team very flexible in their drafts. They've got some of the most unique champion pools here, where they've played the most in the league, so definitely can have that little advantage when it comes to these individual games. But we'll get to see how they do battle here against the Direwolves today. They won the matchup last time, but can they win that matchup here today? And I suppose we can find out, because we're going to check in with Coach Calvin as we kick off another coaching interview. Calvin, welcome back. You know, three teams, I should say, tied in third at the moment. You're going to be playing 2 of them this week, so can you give us a bit of a form check?
Hi, Summoners. And yeah, I mean, going into this week, we know this week is very important. You know, there is a chance that if things goes really badly, we can get as low as, I think, 6th or something. But at the same time, we do have the chance for us to make our way to the top. And, you know, we will come into this week very prepared. Everyone's very hyped up. And we have a lot of picks sort of hidden in our books.
Yeah, and I was just talking and complimenting the fact that your team has had that much flexibility in the draft. So, you know, talk to me about this draft in particular. You know, you've got a lot of emphasis now towards Kevy to pop off. We've seen what we can do in this Graves before, but is there a concern that, as Juves mentioned, you might get outscaled?
I think in terms of scaling, like, Direwolves comp doesn't really scale like extremely well either. Like, I think Sivir is probably the only champion that scales like insanely into 6 items. LeBlanc, Lee Sin, Volibear, they basically just do, like, you know, what most champions would do towards like the mid-late game. And for us, I think, you know, our comps, we have strength in team fighting, and also once we hit that late game, like as long as like Sivir doesn't get to pop off, I don't think anyone's able to kill Mundo.
Okay. And then I guess, you know, against your opponent here today, been 3 weeks since you've last versed the Direwolves, a very different beast to when you played them last, right? You know, that game, big advantages were found early on, and it kind of just snowballed out of control from there. So how do you view the Direwolves, you know, on this 5-win streak, finding confidence, and do you think it's going to be anywhere near as close as it was last time?
Yeah, I think Direwolves is definitely a team that ramps up over the split. You know, we can see that from split 1 as well. So we were definitely not taking this matchup very lightly. We think that Direwolves, you know, they've built a lot of synergy over the last few weeks, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very even matchup, but I think we'll come up on top.
Beautiful. Well, best of luck. Hopefully you get the perfect Frio Super Week, and yeah, we'll see how the boys play today.
Thank you.
All right, Juves. Well, as that one was going on, I saw a fair few aggressive trades, especially in the bottom half of the map.
Standard, some pretty standard full clears coming out of both junglers. They're going to end up both sides of the map. And
yeah, Zenithblade's going to connect. Same with the Tether. Right now, 2 members in trouble. Both the supports actually bleeding resources as Kevy comes in with a smoke bomb, double buff, but deciding not to dash in any further.
That's worth it. He got Dark Harvest. He got a Dark Harvest stack off that. So for me, that's a successful gank. But that's the other thing I wanted to touch on was Graves is going for the Dark Harvest, and we might even see a fight over the Gromp here. Only if he's smart, if he's quick rather, as well, can really just double crab. And as Graves, you know, you're not the fastest farming jungler since the nerfs, but you really don't want to be falling behind tempo to a Lee Sin, right? So I want to say only just cross mid here. He can cross mid, look to deny crab, particularly because his volley bear has priority topside. He's also walking down, pinged on the way to that crab. So this is looking like another fight that's going to take place topside.
We've seen this fight happen before as the chains connect, but there's the smoke bomb to deny things, but only once more, forcing at the disengage from Chungi, who's already below 20%. He's in critical, needs to back away. Big rotation here from Beats, and Cupcake responding from base as well. So now it's a double scuttle achieved here by the Direwolves, and Kevy gonna be frustrated.
And those ganks in mid lane, right? Like why you don't get summoners, you don't get a kill. They're huge because they get you pressure, right? You know, a lot of people say, you know, in solo queue that gank happens, and people say, well, what was they all chat question mark? Like, what's the point in that? You just wasted your time. But the HP trade, the HP advantage gained, allowed, you know, Shock to push mid, Chungi has to base, and then you just secure both crabs. So at the moment, like if you're only, you're laughing. Like you're really happy because you're going to hit level 6 earlier. You can just put the jungle on cooldown now, and you really set up for success for the first, you know, 5 to 10 minutes. But the thing that I wanted to touch on before we had those like little skirmies break out was the fact that Graves has gone to Dark Harvest, which...
Claire is in so much trouble. A first for his career, playing the volley bear top, and falls down 1v1 into the Maximize. Not a good start for them there.
I don't know what happened. I mean, I think what happened was Maximize fake-based, sat in the bush, Claire thought he went home, and that's it. And pretty much simple as that. We'll get a replay, I'm sure, but before I get rudely interrupted again, the Dark Harvest suggests to me that he's going lethality, which he has bought the serrated Dirk. So generally, like, we see them go, Graves go Eclipse into, like, full lethality, which, again, like, it makes sense because you're potentially going to be seeing the Direwolves just stack a whole bunch of magic resistance. You know, they're going to be opting in for the Merc Treads, they're going to opt in for a Locket, and there's going to be not much armor that comes out at least for the first, you know, 2 items, I would say. So then the lethality just has so much value, and the Graves, you know, at that point, is just going to take over the game, and you're hoping it's really over at that point.
Certainly are. We'll touch on that point in just a second, because another skirmish is breaking out bot side here. Is Cupcake is the focus. Satchel charge into the river, flash Q, and Kevy is there to guarantee that they find one, but they're looking for a second as flashes are burnt, but Guncrab survives.
Such a good satchel charge. I mean, that's like such an underrated knockback. That was literally an alley-oop.
Served on a silver platter, right? Like, here, have a kill.
But then Beats got the kill. I feel like Beats has been doing that week upon week more and more. Not like on purpose, but he seems to just be getting the kills. Didn't we see him like last week? He was like 3-3-3 or 3-0-3 or something like that.
Yeah, there's a game. The one that really speaks to mind for me is when he was playing the Mundo support, right? He like came to laning phase with double buff 3-0, and it's just like, well, you know, how do you contest this now?
These Mundo matchups always look so terrible when he's landing cleavers, and it sounds silly to... Oh.
That's a good ult. Fantastic self-ult there from Chuggy. He was going to receive a world of pain, but rejuvenates himself.
The ult is nice because it keeps him in lane. If he takes the impaled Q there from Karma, then he obviously has to hit base. But it's kind of like now you lose all that pressure in mid lane. Hang on a minute.
Hang on a minute, indeed. Claire's looking for a little bit of revenge. Gonna go for the all-in sidesteps the Stormbringer, takes one turret shot and realizes, hang on a minute, I'm in a world of pain right now. Goes for the empowered heal, but gets TP'd on and collapsed. And the rest of his team are nowhere to be found. A lot of things we want to break down there, Juves. I want to quickly touch on mid because, I mean, obviously he had no TP to come back, so there's arguments of, you know, he would have been denied waves and XP, but then, you know, Shock is then free to rotate. In that case, Claire unable to find success.
Yeah, you know, I think if Claire actually lands the ultimate, the ult damage there, probably gets the solo kill. But, you know, it's just these like little things in lane that haven't really been going Claire's way sometimes. And all of a sudden now we're looking at a Mundo with a bounty. Yeah, he's down a few CS, but he's not going to mind because he's up so much gold and only might find the pick here.
Well, they're going to go for the TP falls top side now. A flash kick in, looking to lock and place Puma for the meantime. Vision's going to be denied for a fraction, but he's inside the bush. Going to use the ultimate and safeguard away after soaking all that damage. And this time, Order too slow to back them up because they were locked in place on Herald.
Yeah, and that's just a map flip now, right? We're seeing bot lanes pivot to top lane, obviously just to match each other, but Rift Herald's been denied because of that kill, so if you're a Direwolves fan, that's huge. And the base being cancelled for Kevy, so even though the 2-kill advantage towards Order, still relatively even in gold just because the way mid lane's panned out, right? And we've seen this time and time again. Well, not time and time again, this is the second time. But Changi locking in this Lissandra into the LeBlanc and just falling, you know, really far behind. And we can't really sugarcoat it. 20 CS at this point in the game is significant, particularly because he's had to self-ult a few times. And I mean, this is probably my biggest criticism of Changi when he's on the Lissandra, is he's never proactive. Right? He's always reactive. He's responding to plays, casting ults to get out of ganks. And when you're doing that and you're losing those windows of opportunity as a Lissandra, then it's kind of like, well, why am I picking this champion? Wouldn't I be better off just, you know, with something else, with something with a little more scaling or something that can really facilitate the team composition? Because again, at the moment, 20 CS down, that's a kill.
I always find that discussion interesting, right? Because it's a case of, you know, what are you after? More lane dominance or team fight, you know, efficiency, efficacy, what you can contribute, and, you know, who are you putting the major burden on to perform? And as you said already, it's going to be the fact that Kevy has gone for this lethality route. He's made that quite obvious with the Dark Harvest as opposed to the Phase Rush, for instance. So we'll get to see if he can pop off and, you know, pretty much one-shot somebody in a dash combo. Yeah.
Because Lissandra doesn't scale. Lissandra's not a mid CFI here.
Yeah, hold that for a second right now. As only jumps on in, gets all into Pom, but not enough to take him much lower than 25.
Yeah.
Can just disengage away with red buff still ticking and look to protect top side as Herald was picked up by Order.
Maybe he just wanted the Dark Harvest stack, or, you know, maybe there was a little bit of miscommunication there. Puma, he wanted Puma to ulti and try and get the Lee Sin kill there because Lee did have no flash.
Are they going to run it back again top side once again? Only going to find that kick in, but not going to be able to look to try and chase it any further as the Herald has been summoned. 2 plates are already gone and looking to try and do as much as they can and share that love around. And this is interesting to note, right? Quickly taking our clock back. You know, Puma did get solo killed in that, but the fact that they've lane rotated was to facilitate the play that summon the Herald, get as many of these plates as possible, generate that big gold lead, and it's why they have it at 10 minutes.
Yeah, and you have to kind of wonder, you know, did Direwolves need to give that one? Because Ziggs at this point in the game isn't the strongest champion, right? Like, sure, it has a decent time in lane, able to wave clear, able to push, but you'd have to think maybe it was contestable, particularly because Lee Sin only is so strong. Maybe they just got caught on tempo, got caught on some of those timings, but nevertheless, that's good play from Kevy, right? He chunked out only, burnt the ultimate, able to pick up a few plates, and still a pretty even game, although all things considered, right? You're hoping if you're the team that gets that Herald, you're going to have a pretty significant early game lead just because you're going to either break a turret, get some plates, but again, nothing to really write home about at the moment.
Nothing too crazy at this stage. Still got my eyes firmly fixated on this mid lane matchup as Shocker's up by 20 CS, and his statistics so far for the season, he's usually up by 7 CS by the 10-minute mark, so he's continuing on that narrative of being a very dominant laner.
That's actually pretty insane. If that's across the board, right?
Yeah. Yeah, both him and Kisei, 7.4. It's pretty impressive, those two. Been having some really stand-up performances, but it's kind of what you expect from Shock. Hold that fort because there's the Solar Flare, there's the Zenith Blade, and there's the collapse on towards Gunkrab, who's forced to burn that flash. Needs to use a heal and receives it from Cupcake as they look to try and run away, but cops a Q to the head, but it's not enough to become lethal.
Not enough to become lethal, but next time around it is, right? And Changi still has ultimate. It could be a bit of a solo bolo here.
He could be. Shock's in a fair bit of trouble right now and can't actually prevent it with the clone, but in comes Only looking for the kick, gonna use it, but then fantastic denial by Kevy.
Did he need to do that? Not sure. Did it look good? Yes. Now, again, teleport coming in from Shock here on the back end. Do they see that though?
Oh, this time the Sonic Wave does connect, and Shock is looking for the all-in. He might just find it onto Kevy right here as the chain's going to just be dashed away from.
I think
he doesn't have an Ignite, but he's got a Blast Cone, he's got a Potion ticking, but he's still got a LeBlanc on the run.
Well, he leaves. Okay. But this was going to be, I know that looked like a net positive play or a really good play from Chungy, but this is going to be, again, a criticism towards him and not even necessarily him, but how they play with this Lissandra, right? Like, you shouldn't be playing for solo kills in lane. Like, as a Lissandra, like, A, they're too hard to come by. Like, Shock has to make a very big mistake for that to happen, in which, yeah, you got the flash, like, and you nearly killed him, you nearly got the solo kill, well done. But Lissandra's kit is so well utilized around the 2v2, around the ganks, around skirmishes, around neutral objectives. Now, in my mind, isn't it better to just call your jungler there for that play? Because if Kevy is there, if Kevy knows, if you're communicating with him and he's able to just drop a Graves ultimate there.
Oh. There's no time to talk, unfortunately, here, Judes, because that is a double chain, a double tether, and a double chance to try and take out Beats. As Puma's forced to flash away even after using the satchel charge, but now in comes the execution damage. Sonic Wave cannot be followed. And multiple times now, Mimba's found critical in mid lane, but no finish.
Yeah, this game's just a tease. You know, a couple times Shock could have gone down, Chungy could have gone down, Kevy could have gone down, and now Beats could have gone down. So, yeah, no kills to write home about. All the kills have really just happened top side of the map. Specifically, even when the bot lane was up there. But again, this is the point in the game where I expected to slow down a whole bunch. When Siva starts getting put on mid lane duties, it's just too hard to do anything, as well as the Ziggs, right? You know, no team should really get caught. And it'll almost just be a trade of neutral objectives. Like, you know, how much is one team willing to give before they fight for it? So I think that's the only time we'll really see the game blow open is around these dragon fights and potentially the second Rift Herald. But again, there's nothing to really get caught about now. So it's almost just going to be a trading of minion waves in both side lanes and the mid lane.
The timers for those flashes coming back up could be forgiving, bearing in mind that the Dragon spawns in 90 seconds, but the Herald is soon to come up and available, and with a lot of those flashes already being down, maybe the ability to contest or even decide to even go for it in the first place might be dampened. Waiting for these breakpoints to come on through. There's the Eclipse as you wanted to see, as to be expected.
You know, I probably would have liked to have seen Gale Force Graves in this particular game. Just because I think the crit scale is so much better, and you are like the only source of AD for your team. Obviously, lethality in itself is probably going to be doing more damage, or will do more damage. Oh,
only some trouble right here as Beats engages, but a fantastic kick buffered beautifully to ensure he doesn't get one shot upon.
The only time,
well, they can just disengage away.
The time I try and analyze something, whether it's a build, whether it's a skirmish, there's just a fight. I reckon I just mute myself.
Look, whenever there's not a fight going on, I'm on mute, mate. I let you take the reins.
That's a 2-level lead bot lane, by the way.
Yeah, it's huge. Maximize has really had Claire's number this game so far, hasn't he? Solo kills and then outplays to name the least. He's just going to look to try and throw briefcases from afar and force out the ultimate just to get that health.
He had to, definitely. And I mean, when you look at the scoreboard, if you're not really paying attention to bot lane, it doesn't look too bad, right? Yeah, 0-2-0, sure. But I mean, EXP seems fine, but you know, this is just going to get worse for Claire. Now he has to decide, does he teleport back to the lane? If he does, he has, you know, that doesn't have TP for the next passage of play that takes place. But instead he's going to walk, and he's just going to lose another wave for it. So again, these are like the 1% advantages that add up. And we're already seeing it add up, right? Claire's down a level and a half. Maximize might hit, you know, level 13 shortly, and then it is genuinely a 2-level lead, but Claire's gone in.
Certainly has gone in, as Only, who's in a world of trouble right now. Going to turn around, gets a lot of HP.
Wow.
And they just removed Puma. Somehow, some way, here comes the TP as Maximize tries to do whatever he can. Flashing on forward. Spell immune from their passive is not off to lock him in place, but Guncrab survives. This mid lane is cursed.
Yeah, mid lane is just cursed. But I mean, Only plays that so well. I thought Only was dead. I thought he's just given up there, but he really used that Gore Drinker to bait it to a T, right? Puma got baited in, everyone got baited in. And again, this is what I'm talking about. This reactive Lissandra never works. You need to be the one that's proactive, the one that's making the plays. Only was the one that followed the Sonic Wave, went in, Then Changi pulled the trigger to use the ultimate, but again, there's no vision denial.
Oh, Kevy going to go in for a bit of a 1v1, but then realizes that's probably not the play him after. Flashes onto Gunkrab, who was low, and takes him out to at least say worth. But now, can Order find anything more? Frozen Tomb is not up and available, nor is the flash that had to be burnt to find nothing with it. And Direwolves can sneak away an objective.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a cheeky sneak away. You'd have to say, even though that Gunkrab fell down, it's overall worst for the side of Direwolves, just because they found 2 kills in that whole passage, as well as the Dragon. You know, for one traded back onto Kevy. And again, it feels like Direwolves are just winning those 1%ers, those little outplays in those skirmishes, right? Changi flashed forward, wasn't able to land the snare onto whoever he was flashing forward onto. So at the moment, the Direwolves are looking like the team to beat. I know they're down a few thousand gold, but if you just take stock of the skirmishes and the exchanges and how they're playing out, it just looks like the Direwolves have the momentum in this game. No flash.
Could be in trouble. He hasn't got that flash. Already going to go for the disengage. Frozen Tomb is there. Might look to lock and play shock underneath the turret, but has to self-cast. Once again, the offensive capabilities have been diminished, and he will live to tell the tale.
I think that's a pretty big misplay there from Only, if I'm being completely honest. Like, they know he has no flash. That's surely been timed. And he knows that the tether is coming out from LeBlanc, so the snare's going to hit. And he's just throwing the Q preemptively, right? Not accounting for the Frozen Tomb. Otherwise, that's a dead Lissandra, and potentially you break top turret.
That's what they need, because they need to buy a little bit of time to help out Claire here, because this Mundo really starting to get out of control. I mean, we saw Livs play a very different version of this Mundo. He went for the Fleet Footwork, he went for the Divine Sundra, went to pretty much 1v1 people, as opposed to this version with the Grasp and the Sunfire. Far more tanky, far harder to take down. And with a fair bit of AP damage that Direwolves also have, who's going to go into him?
It also depends on the matchup too, depending on the keystone that you take. So, you know, in this instance, when you're versing a volley bear, it's just melee on melee, right? You're just continuously slapping each other in lane. So you're going to get so much value from this Grasp. And like in that sense, you know, we can see why he's taken it. Potentially in the matchups where you need a little bit more sustain and you're going to be hitting minion waves under your turret, then you like that Fleet Footwork just that little bit better. I don't know what matchup Livs played that into off the top of my head, but you're the stat man.
Have to find it out. I don't have that on recollection right here, right now. But I tell you what, though, there is a bit of attention shown towards the spot side because they realize that this is passively just pushing against Claire. What's the level difference now? Sure, it's only 1, but I can't imagine Max is too far away from 14.
Yeah, it's 1.5, I would say, maybe even 1 2/3, right? And I mean, the real telltale sign of this game and how it's gone is that you look at the bot lane of Direwolves, right? They're up EXP. You know, they're up 2 levels if you consider them a pair. You know, level 12 to a level 11 and level 9 to level 8. But then you see that.
Gonna jump on through. Xenoblade somehow connects. And that's fantastic work there from the bot lane of Order.
Maybe this Eclipse tech is just the real deal, right? I mean, that's what saves him there. You know, if he is the Gale Force Grades, if he's something that's maybe a little bit more squishier but does a little bit more damage.
Here comes the Thunder. The stun does not connect because the passive there is to buffer it.
I wonder if Claire...
Okay, well, no time to talk about that one because the kill goes across onto Chungi. So finally finds that kill that you wanted to see from only minutes prior.
That's solo.
Lots of individual outplays and trades, cross-map all the time.
The junglers are solo killing the solo laners at this point, right? Like, I mean, mid lane maybe underpowered, needs a buff as a role. Like, Shock's just been solo killed pretty much by Kevy. And then across the board, Claire, only rather, solo killed Chungi. So, what I wanted to say before that, but we get the replay here. So he just lands the Sonic Wave. Frozen Tomb is up and available, but he doesn't use it on himself. It's not a self-cast, and at this point, you know, Lee Sin's got the Merc Treads. I dare say he's probably got Tenacity in his runes as well. So, the CC doesn't really exist.
Still a 2k buffer in favor here for Order. Not many kills, only 9 to speak of in the 22 minutes played. It has been all about wave states and map manipulation, really, hasn't it? We've been seeing flips with the Ziggs going topside. We've been seeing multiple events take place in mid lane.
Ooh.
And a wall that nearly denied a base.
It's been a little bit of a nothing game. And what I mean by that is, like, yeah, there's been kills, but the kills haven't resulted in anything. Like, the fights haven't been over, you know, a Rift Herald. The Rift Heralds have actually just been given away. The fights haven't been even over a dragon, right? The fights have been after the dragon, sure, but again, nothing that really relates to or transitions into a very big gold lead, or at least a gold swing. potentially this is the first 5v5 that we see, but we're already seeing the power of the Ziggs, right? And the poke coming out of Order's composition.
Yeah, everybody's here right now. Oh, beats flashing forward aggressively, looking to try and catch up Cupcake on contest, but then jumps in only, looking for the flash click, and he does get it. Now jumping in with the Sonic Wave afterwards, looking for the execute, but then Puma flashes the 1v1 in the bot lane of Order, looking to try and protect him, but he falls on down all the same. Only might be the trade as the dash away will not protect him on this occasion, but now Chungy burning his flash also and gets collapsed upon by Claire. Direwolves with the numbers advantage, with the trades working in their favor so far, but can they find more because Cupcake's in trouble, cycling through the cooldowns, just gets the shield and sidesteps the briefcase. Direwolves coming out on top.
Direwolves coming out on top indeed, and I think Only is the MVP of that team fight. When we get the replay, we'll see what he did on the back end there, and Maximize doing his absolute best, but to a ooh, I thought that was Cupcake playing with danger there, but you know, Gunkrab and Shock too. Oh wait, Skimmy.
It's the caster curse, right? It happens every time. You just know that these guys are looking for more.
I'm gonna wait too. I'm not even gonna keep talking because what they're gonna do is teleport, run back to this dragon, and there's gonna be a contest again. Shock is on a ward. Frozen Tomb is not up. So Maximize ulti isn't up. So again, this is probably the one window in which he's able to get 100 to 0 if he can even do that to a Mundo.
Video flash on Gunkrab. There are no stopwatches available. This is a bit of an all-in if we are to see the 50-50 flip. Okay, get started here by Order. And it is dropping very fast.
Lethality Sivir as well, by the way.
Yeah, certainly is. Only jumps in, can't steal it, looks to safeguard away. Clear on the flank, TP coming in. Direwolves wanting to try and force their agenda. Wanted to find kills, same spot, same time. Once again, everybody locked in place. A Stormbringer would be huge right now, but it's on CD. Claire can't do nothing. Now Gunkrab gets collapsed upon, Spell Shield and a flash away. But a briefcase will lock you down. What can you do when a Mundo's running at you? I tell you what, pretty much nothing.
No, and the Mundo goes where he pleases, but that's a very good disengage coming out of the Order side, right? They're able to kite that one out, and what they did there was they forced them into a choke, into that little corridor there versus a Ziggs, and I can tell you there's only one winner when you force yourself into that corridor, and Ziggs has 2 items. He absolutely just shreds Gunkrab, one-shots Claire, and you know, this is going to be an Order Baron. So what turns, you know, what was a pretty decent early game, or you know, it looked like Direwolves coming to their own, coming into the zone, particularly with these item power spikes coming on through. Order really just flipped the script, win that skirmish, and pick up the Baron. It's going to be so hard for them now to fight off this Baron with, you know, the Ziggs, with the Graves, with the Mundo.
Certainly is. Big power spikes, sieging potential through the roof right now. Direwolves, the trade that they'll find is their first turret of the game, opening up mid.
Man, these junglers are higher level than their solo laners. That's hilarious. Not solo laners. Well, Maximize is level 15, but I'm more mean like Shock and Chungy. Feels like they've both kind of had roughies, and both junglers are just, you know, having a fun time. Whether that's eating lane EXP or just picking up the solo kills. It's really been a fantastic showing from both junglers, if I'm being completely honest.
For sure. I mean, they've picked up the majority of these kills, haven't they? So those individually can output a fair bit of work. There are bounties to be claimed, though. And I will also be hoping for that to be available, as the gold lead is still within their grasp, but it is slowly starting to build up here for Order as the waves are crashing and the inhibs locked in their sights.
It's the thing that we kind of didn't see before the Dragon was that it's actually a lethality Sivir as well. So the Muramana Dustblade, now he's going to opt in for the armor pen. But now it begs the question is, it's going to do damage when it hits Kevi, like so, right? But you know, it's not necessarily going to hit him every time. Now,
he's really going to want the Steward's Grudge as well, right?
Yeah.
The fact that the Boomerang guarantees you're locked in place and slowed.
Exactly, but what type of damage does it do to the double front line? Like, is it going to do damage to Beats? Is it going to do damage to Maximize? How quickly are you going to be able to take them down? Because I dare say at this point in the game, like, that Mundo is probably not falling down. You have to win a team fight with him alive.
Yeah, and it circles back to our point only 10 minutes before, right? About who's actually going to respond to Maximize. He's out of control, can't be dealt with on an individual basis. Needs a lot of resources pumped at him. But then you've got the rest of this team just wailing away at you. 2 lanes collapse, bot lane passively pushing. That's building up a big stack.
I mean, it did a little bit, right? It did a little bit to the Mundo there. Like, it wasn't terrible. Maybe 6 more of those and he dies. Man, that Eclipse is really nice work into the Blanc. Every time she goes to trade, you just pop that Eclipse shield and
Yeah.
She's the one that's in lethal. She's the one that realizes, yeah, I don't want that actually.
Clips and Hex Drinkers, quite nice actually for the
Yeah.
mitigation there, really allowing him to hold his own in this 4-1 split that Order have currently got working for them. 30 seconds left before this Baron buff expires, and waves need to be trimmed here by Direwolves, especially removing these cannons, and they've done enough. They've held off for the meantime.
They held off, and Order have kind of stretched their lead just a little bit. You know, it's up to 5,000 now, which again, it is substantial. Like at this point in the game, if you're an Order fan, you're expecting to win this one, right? I mean, there'd be no real excuse to lose from here. So they put themselves in a position of power with these Ziggs in particular, being able to siege these turrets, take it down with the satchel charge. So again, just going to be rinse and repeat, wait till the next neutral objective, and
Oh, Cupcake is in so much trouble right now unless he gets collapsed upon, but now he finds himself split between two different sides of this battle. Mr. Direwolf's able to retreat away. Claire now also finds himself in a spot above her, but an empowered shield might be enough. Stormbringer buffers away from the frozen tomb, which could have been lights out, with Shock now on the flank looking for a play. It only jumps on him, big shield on his head, looking to try and kick somebody and use it, but it does absolutely nothing. Now Shock jumping in once again, looking to try and find kills with this distort. Padding their HP bars lower and lower by the second. There's the kick in once again. Sonic Wave finding no success. Only falls on down. Now 5-2. And Order is held strong as a 5-man.
yeah, the one thing that this Order composition does so well is... And Changyi's flashed over the wall. Does he get him on the back end? Oh, nice little spectating there, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, double mid laners just flashing. Shock's just waiting at the timer, right? Not want to take as many damage as possible so he can deny himself.
Now.
Yeah, he just wants to deny himself, right? I think he's ran out long enough. There it is, the denial. Rest of Order though, find their skirmish and say, well, we can let's try and break open the space just a fraction more. Sustained engage, working in their favor as Maximize jumps in. Has no ult, but won't mind at all. Runs straight at this Karma and zones away Cupcake. But Gunkrab has removed Puma. It's a lot to digest here, Juves. It's not done just yet. This fight has been going on for far too long.
Oh,
and Cupcake wants it to continue.
Yes,
flashing with the tether. Frozen Tomb is there as you highlight. Use it, self-cast once again, and Only, who gets the kick, but no follow-up as Beats is out of the fight. Claire in trouble once again, looking for an empowered heal, and they can't remove him.
No, he's healing. He's just absolutely healing. Again, this Sivir build isn't going to particularly get rid of Maximize, so they need to fight around him and fight through him. Only dying on the back end there, 1v3, nothing he can really do. It's looking tougher and tougher for the side of Direwolves, because when you think about Direwolves' composition, right, they want to like run you down. You think about the Sivir, you think about the Karma, the LeBlanc, even the Volibear, right? It's all linear, it's all straight line. You know, there's no real crazy amount of mobility besides the LeBlanc. And all that's happening is Puma's dropping, you know, the minefield down. Graves and Changyi are just sitting on Puma. Maximize is disrupting 3 people on the back end, and Direwolves are taking more damage than they're doing just by trying to close the distance. Like they're not even engaging in the fight yet. They don't even have their hands on Order. They're just trying to close the distance, and they're just getting chunked out. I mean, the Ziggs and the Leona, and I mean, the Mundo just has so much value in this game at the moment.
Let's take a quick stock check of the game, as really the end goal of that Baron was they found 4 turrets, a 6k gold lead, and a whole bunch of pressure on the map, right? Inhibitor did eventually fall on down in the mid lane. Worth noting that Gunkrab has actually opted for the LDR instead, so needs that percentile shred more than anything right now, because as you saw, Maximize is a raid boss.
Yeah, he is, and he's only getting stronger. Like, he's picked up the wall mobs now. And the thing is they don't really have any health, any HP shred. Again,
Direwolves feel quite pressured right now. They need to try and force this fight. The Baron is already gone. Fantastic goalkeeping there by Beat, zoning away multiple members. Frozen Tomb already used as Claire's in trouble, but he's going to jump in there with a Stormbringer. Doesn't hit anybody. It might just fall down. Lights out just as easy as that. A Shocker's on the flank, but the LeBlanc is unable to find these one-shots. Can't find their kills. They're relying so much right now on Only, who's separated from the team. The bot lane of Direwolves 1v2 against Maximize, but we don't want to watch that. We want to see what Lee Sim mechanics can do, because it has been a game for the most part decided by junglers, and it is Kevy finding more kills. He's found one now onto Shock, who was low enough already.
Gunkrab's coming. Can they turn?
And Only's looking to try and buy as much time as possible. They're just out of range to touch the minion wave with the Sonic Wave to disengage, but Kevy is now godlike. And Kevy is quite honestly unstoppable.
Yeah, Kevy's huge. Kevy's level 17. He's 2 levels on Changyi. I mean, This is game skimmy.
It certainly looks to be at 32 minutes on the clock, and they just said, we've had enough. We've had enough of playing around with you. You guys clearly aren't matching us with the power in this game. We might just end it right here, right now. But can Gunkrab do something to say about that? He certainly can. He can get a shutdown. But he's got a big wave to trim as well as he waits at the respawns.
Okay, maybe it's not game, but it probably is the 2 inhibitors that fall down. The satchel charge is going to clear this turret. And we'll just ignore what happened there.
Yep.
I mean, that's a Kobe.
That happens.
Yeah, Kobe on the back end there. Again, there's just so much. There's so much for Direwolves to walk through to actually participate in this fight. Like we're seeing this, even Shock can't really find his windows in. And I mean, if you had to consider game state or a game state and really try to take stock of, you know, where you're at, Kevy's level 18 and Shock's level 14. I mean, that's a 4-level difference between jungler and mid laner. Only might look here though. Kind of feels like Direwolves need to find something, and
it's desperation, because every single time they're taking fights, I'm seeing remnants of the game against the Chiefs, where they were forcing their hand time and time again, but each loss was just another 2k against them to have to deal with. Another item spike, another level. Level 18 now for Kevy. He is so insanely strong. As Claire said enough, he's jumped on in. Found a target on towards Puma, but has no protection. The Mega Inferno Bomb does enough before Puma's eventually going to fall on down. He's been kicked and flashed, but somehow the auto attack from Sivir is just there in time. But Kevy, stop it. It's dirty. I've seen this before. He gets everything with a quad.
Is he going to give Penta or not? Ah, that's sad. Oh! I mean, Skimmy, this game has just been so chaotic, and in terms of the chaos, in terms of the draft, like, the order composition really just thrives in it, right? When you consider the Graves, when you consider the Mundo that got so far ahead in lane, and I mean, all you have to do is take stock of the scoreboard to really see, you know, where the eggs went in this basket, and it really was all in Kevy's, and we said he needed to have a performance. He needed to have a pop-off performance to really warrant that pick in this draft. And I mean, 12-1-4. Congratulations to Order, but more importantly, congratulations to Kevy, because he repaid the faith, didn't he?
He certainly did. Faith was put in him. You have to pop off on this champion, and he said, look, I certainly can. I've played this before. I've beaten opponents with this before, and in dominating fashion. And up against the Direwolves that were in hot form themselves, and I made them look embarrassed. It's a game that they can be very proud of, and I suppose it starts to beg the question now on 2 folds. Do we start to see less LeBlanc, or a team's going to have to start respecting the Lissandra pocket pick from Chang'e and Order?
Yeah, I think you just need to be less predictable, right, with the draft. I mean, Direwolves got away with it for, what, 4 or 5 weeks, you know, picking a very similar-esque draft. And they were actually punished, like well thought out, well organized. Still think maybe a little bit of magic damage focus from the Order draft could have been punished if they didn't fall behind in lane like they did topside. Yep. However, nevertheless, Kevy had a blinder, and I mean, the Order should be very proud of themselves.
It certainly should be. And Mac, well, what a win. You know, we've all gone for the Direwolves hype train. Rusty was on the money saying that I believe in something just a little bit too much. And maybe you have to start to believe the fact that they have this draft flexibility that we're talking about, but we're starting to see the proof is in the pudding.
Well, look, Twitch chat as well apparently believed in Direwolves, so I was very disappointed about that one, because I was looking at the comp once it was there, and, you know, the predictions are there while Champ Selects live. I was really liking the Graves pick from Kevy, because this man is a magician on the carry junglers, and I was expecting him to have a big game, but maybe not as big of a game as he ended up having, just picking up so many of those kills. I think towards about the 20-minute mark, it still seemed like there wasn't a whole lot that went on for him, but, you know, see here, look, 1-1-1, so not a lot of influence in the map, but then as it did get to the point where he did scale, hits that second item, your Lord Doms, it just made it so easy for him to dance around in the team fights, even though, you know, this fight from Direwolves kind of went towards them. However, off the back of it, then did it really, is the question I need to ask. It was just, it looked like Direwolves didn't know where they needed to stand in this fight in particular. However, they did a very good job. Unfortunately, Order did a better job today, so they took the W, and that active win streak is down the drain for Direwolves.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you got to lose eventually, right? And I mean, whilst we were talking about the improvement from Direwolves, they'll probably take a lot away from this game. A little bit to do with the draft, but also I think more importantly how they played. Because again, 24-minute mark, Direwolves, like you said, we're getting the better of them in specific skirmishes and team fights, but the be-all and end-all was the way that they just funneled into that choke, and they just got zig-bombed. But look at this damage. Look at the damage graph.
Yeah, it's just actually crazy. I mean, this is kind of what you'd expect to see from a Lethality Graves, right? Someone that's just absolutely shredding through you. But I mean, you can break this down. I mean, Shock wasn't able to get a single kill, I think, if we saw the the scoreboard at the end there. His ability to be dominant in lane phase transitioned into nothing when it came to team fights. Clear, bit of a shocker there dealing with Maximize, and those two kind of just ran rampant, able to do whatever they want. So, you know, +2 AD, by the way.
Yeah, it was slight change. Looks like it was enough to bring the picks into LCO. So we memed about it. We said, oh, look, that +2 AD is probably not going to change the pick rate of it. But Order came in with a plan and they executed it perfectly. Someone that does have a little bit of insight is probably the players. But let's bring Nat in because she gets to talk to the players. Lucky old you, hey? Do you like that game?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was really good. There was a moment that I was really, you know, sure that Dire Wolves could just kind of snowball it and win, but Order proved me wrong and absolutely came back and stole the win. It was really good to watch.
It certainly did.
But hopefully I can get some answers to your questions as I am going to be joined by Kevy. Congratulations on the win and such an insane performance. I want to start and I want to ask Graves Pick. We've seen you play him before, but why did he come out today?
I don't know. We just sort of realized like this champ is really OP, and like I literally just kill everything in 2 autos. So I felt like if we got Graves, I would win. That's why.
Why do you think he is so OP? Like, what gave you guys this, I guess, insight or like thought to be like, yeah, it works really well in this draft and is just absolutely going to tear through the rest of the team?
+2 AD. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. He just does a lot of damage. Like when I play it, I literally feel like I'm damage hacking or something. Like we had so many so much magic damage on our team, and they all just like couldn't really itemize armor. So it was really good in that game. Yeah.
Yeah, it showed it. Were you guys a little bit worried, I guess, more towards that mid-game before you guys took Dragon and Baron that Dire Wolves were going to run away with the game, or were you very clear and focused that you could still win it?
To be honest, as soon as I saw them put Lee Sin jungle, like I knew the game was won. It was a bit hard like during the game. I felt like I was misplaying a lot, but I was like pretty nervous going into it. But yeah, as soon as I saw Lee Sin, I knew it would win. The champ's really useless in jungle.
Well, there you go. Hopefully, no one's going to be putting Lee Sin jungle anytime soon. But the last question is, I guess, like that matchup in top between Max and Claire. I want to know what was going on, you know, between comms between you and Max, because he was doing really well up there, and I want to know, like, I guess how that impacted your performance throughout the game.
We didn't really do anything, we didn't really synergize or anything, but it feels nice having my top win every game. Like he just solo killed him, and yeah, it felt really good. But it wasn't like throughout the game, you know, we did anything together to outplay them. So yeah.
Yeah, well, look, thank you so much for joining me, and congratulations again on the win.
Thank you.
Well played by that man on your screen. You could hear that he was nervous. It did look like he was kind of nervous for, you know, the first 15, 20 minutes of the game, but then certainly started to really find his feet there. Now, that brings us to the player that delivered, and I'm not even going to ask the question this time because we all know who it was. It was that man on your screen, of course. It was Kevy doing a damn good performance in the jungle there. 12-1-4, 84% kill participation, 2-shotting pretty much everyone on the opposite team. 12 wards placed, 27% gold share. Man's just all about those numbers and all about jumping around and shooting many, many little bullets out of that shotgun juice.
Yeah, that's a big damage share for a jungle, especially in a competitive sense, right? You get less gold, but in this instance, when you have 12 kills, you probably don't get less gold. You get majority of the gold, and, you know, I mean, that's just a good performance from him, and something that, again, we talked about him being, or he said he's a little bit nervous. I do think maybe the Order team in general suffers from a little bit of nerves, right, in big games. So I think this game will do them a world of confidence, especially leading into the business end of the season.
Yeah, they do have a bit of a rough end of the round, I think, from what I remember, Order. That's what we discussed in that first couple of weeks where we're like, oh, Order have the easy run, you know, at the start of each round, and then they have the sort of hard run towards the end. However, speaking about towards the end, it's time to jump into a break, get into the second game of the day, which is going to be Peace and Legacy. So enjoy these tunes from Warner, and we'll see you just after the break.
But next time around it is, right? And Chungy still has ultimate. Could be a bit of a solo bolo here.
Could be. Shock's in a fair bit of trouble right now and can't actually prevent it with the clone, but in comes Only looking for the kick, going to use it, but then fantastic denial by Kevy.
Did he need to do that? Not sure. Did it look good? Yes.
Level 18 now for Kevy. He is so insanely strong. As clears it enough, he's jumped on in. Found a target on towards Puma, but has no protection. The Mega Inferno Bomb does enough before Puma's eventually going to fall